Hello, how are you today? Do you want to dive into a book that might just surprise you, whether it becomes your next favorite or one you might skip? Let's find out what readers are saying about it.
Susan Carolyn, who has 41 likes, says, the Charlie method completely exceeded my expectations. I knew going into this book that I was going to fall in love with Will and Beckett, but Charlie Kingston? It was like looking into a mirror. And she's one of my new favorite FMCs ever. I was pleasantly surprised by how much of a theme identity was in this book. I loved how all three characters had emotional depth as well as individual problems, subplots. Will, Beckett, and Charlie's POVs all felt unique and distinct from one another. I honestly forgot that this was a hockey book. It felt like a senior year crossroads. How can a person know everything at 18 but nothing at 22 type of book? I think all of the pathological people pleasers will see themselves in Charlie. Her coming to the realization that she plays certain roles with various people in her life and molds her personality to fit the situation at hand in order to keep the peace was too relatable. I loved how that theme was reflected in both Will and Beckett's character arcs as well. And as someone who's Asian and also adopted, Charlie's outlook on adoption and her fears were spot on. On a lighter note, I loved how the author sprinkled in humor in what is probably one of her more emotional books. I couldn't stop laughing every time Mike Hollis entered the room. And the references to the off-campus and Briar U men. I love this universe so much. I really need a Blake Logan book now. But the Charlie method was amazing. Definitely my favorite in the Campus Diaries series. Thank you so much to Bloom Books for sending me an ARC of the Charlie method. As always, my reviews are 100% voluntary and all opinions are my own. Zoe, who has 97 likes, says, rating 4 of 5 stars. Summary: The Charlie Method by Elle Kennedy is the third book in the Campus Diaries series and follows Charlotte Charlie Kingston, a college senior with a squeaky clean image by day and a chaotic, anonymous dating app persona by night. After a few spicy anonymous chats, she finds herself entangled with Will and Beckett, two hockey players who have a history of sharing, and suddenly she's not just balancing a secret identity, she's also juggling her feelings for two very different guys. Things get messy fast as Charlie tries to figure out what and who she really wants. Thoughts: I wanted this to be a 5-star read so bad. It was so close. The writing was great, the spice was spicy, and I was super invested in every character's backstory. Charlie, Will, and Beckett were all well developed, and even the side characters added so much to the story. Aside from the obvious annoying ones. This is a why choose book. But it low-key felt like Charlie should have chosen. Her connection with Beckett was so much deeper. More emotional. More everything. Will was fun. But Beckett had my whole heart. Honestly, Beckett and Will probably should have ended up together at this point. Their tension was off the charts. Still, it was a really good book overall. It just had a few details that pulled it back from perfection. Me and Elle Kennedy might have to square up because I want to love these books with my whole chest, but there's always one thing holding me back. Tropes. Why choose sports romance secret identity friends to lovers college setting fave quotes? You should have to change to keep anyone around. That's not love. That's control. Even when I was perfect, had still find something wrong. It got to the point where even just being myself felt like a risk. That kind of consent line is way too blurry for me. For us, pre-read. Elle Kennedy, I am so sorry for not getting to the book right away, my queen. Megan, who has 55 likes, says, fastest DNF of the year so far goes to alright, so I was already insanely hesitant on even giving this book a try after finding out it was MFM. I personally feel as though Will and Beckett's build-up in the previously two books was extremely queer-baited. So by no means did I go into this book thinking I would like it, but when I saw the audio posted I thought, well, I have loved 15 plus Elle Kennedy books so far, so maybe this one will be better than I thought. Wrong. I was over Charlie mid-chapter 1. I knew right from the get-go that I was not going to enjoy this book, and honestly, chapter 2 solidified that for me. So yeah, horribly fast DNF. It is very clear to me that I have no interest in these characters, so there is no reason for me to prolong my suffering by trying to force the listen. Take my rating with a grain of salt. Julia, who has 60 likes, says, 2. I am honestly such a huge fan of Elle Kennedy and her sport romances. She writes them in a unique style that I absolutely adore. So when she announced a MFM romance, I melted immediately. Since the book was announced, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I tried to get an ARC copy or just anything. When I say I was desperate for it, this book was such a disappointment. Let's go over the reasons. 1. You can't convince me both guys never interacted with each other. They were together for over a year and they never touched? No chances. 2. I don't understand the need for showing different Charlie and Charlotte. I can't see much of a difference when it comes to her. She was very blended and the only issue was society shame. Which is understandable, but I can't wrap my head around her personality. 3. Beck was confusing. He was switching emotions every other page. I liked him better. 4. The last chapters had no sense. They were sad but they still continued to fuck, but then they accepted the arrival? 5. It felt more like FM and FM rather than MFM. 6. Some of Charlotte's friends were not really as friendly. I don't remember who exactly it was, but I remember someone was so annoying and mean for no reason. 7. Dad group. What the F was that? I was a huge fan of the off-campus series, but why was this chat included? It had no sense to the plot and it felt very pushed. It was nice to see dads, but it was poorly done. 8. Guys were so unique at the beginning, but at the end they became same person. I couldn't differentiate. Tammy, do believe some percentage of my disappointed was the anticipation. I was waiting for this book for so long and I can't say I was waiting much. But I was waiting for chemistry, tension, fun and excitement. Clace, who has 907 likes, says, 2.95. What was the Charlie method trying to achieve? It certainly didn't feel like MFM and it certainly felt way too distant from the other off-campus books. In short, this book just did not feel that good, and yeah, I am a little mad because I don't think I have ever given an Elle Kennedy book a 3. It's always 4 and above, and I was so excited about this book. I don't even read meter per meter at all, but I think this should have been 1, and before you guys come at me, I wasn't opposed to the idea of this book either because Elle had been teasing about writing a threesome, so I thought, maybe she has something good to write, but no, I was so wrong. Also, can we talk about the length of this book? This book did not need to be this long. It could have easily be cut down because at one point I just wanted it to end and I was considering skimming the book because I was bored, and that never happens with this author. Now, this is 3 stars because I did enjoy the book overall. There were scenes that I really enjoyed reading, and those were mainly in the first half. The OG off-campus crumbs were everything, and the dad chat plus Hollis rupee crumbs were also so good. This book felt more like a setup for Blake and Isaac's book lol. Charlie. She was an okay character. Not one of my favorites, but I didn't have any negative feelings about her either. I liked her perspective and did enjoy reading about her storyline where she was trying to find out about her family. The whole secret identity persona was also fun, and those few starting chapters had me really hooked. But there came a time when I just wanted things to pick up, but they didn't. Will. I loved his character the most. He delivered. His personal story was so well done, and I really liked how he faced his narcissistic father. I was more hooked on his perspective than anyone else's, and tell me why I liked his internal conflict more than the actual romance? Moving on. We have Beckett. I was expecting SM from him, but he just didn't deliver. IDK his character felt so one-dimensional at times and I really couldn't connect with him. The only parts where shined were the spicy parts. Out of that he was meh, and it's sad because his character had so much potential. The romance, I honestly didn't buy any of it. I liked Shaylee's turmoil because of this aspect, but the actual romance? Nah, I do not think they would be able to continue as a throuple. Will and Charlie were barely together and they didn't have that much chemistry, to be honest. It would have been better if they had a threesome. Will went and found someone else and Charlie ended up with Beckett because honestly Will felt like a third wheel. Charlotte spent most of her times with Beckett. Most of her intimate scenes are with him and they even managed to live for a long time without him. So I don't see how Elle tried to make us believe that they could ever be a thing. And Will and Beckett not be together the whole time felt so weird. LMAO, like I feel it felt more distant because Will and Beckett weren't intimate either, so it's very weird to be in a throuple where not everyone is in love. I also did feel that the smut was very overpowering in this book. It could have easily been shortened a bit because it took away the time for development and for the story to progress. Overall, a very lackluster release from one of my favorite authors, and I am being very generous with the rating greater than my rating for the series. The Graham Effect, 5 stars. The Dixon Rule, 4.75. The Charlie Method, 2.95. This is easily the weakest Elle Kennedy book, and this is coming from someone who only give 4 or 5s to her works. The perfect weekend to binge this on. Elle Kennedy YK, what you're doing. We got answers. It's an MFM. The FMC is Charlotte. Charlie, we haven't met her yet, but she's a Briar girl who's studying STEM and sorority girl. Beckett and Will are the MMCSWE. Will get a books about Grace and Logan's child. This is not a drill. Blake will also be in this book a lot with her parents. OFC. UDKHIW much. I love Logan and Grace. Well, get to see more second gen kids. I think this is a whole package that Elle just dropped. Got everything from the newsletter.